All right, welcome to the Franchise Time Machine. Good seeing Kayaking Santa, Kitty Poo Poo in the chat. Welcome in, everybody. So, I had some questions in the chat. I didn't want to start this stream because AdRoll had started. I need to figure out how to do Twitch better because I was about to start and then ads kick in. I'm like, I don't understand why they're kicking in right now. And then I didn't want to start with ads and then people can't hear me. So, um, I was asking a few questions in chat about dead ball era in Perfect Team. And I think I realized, based on the answers, I think I just misunderstood. So I knew that there's a dead ball set coming out Thursday, which Kitty Poo Poo confirmed. I knew that next week is 90s week, which Kitty Poo Poo also confirmed. For some reason, I thought, just like we have a 90s week where the league settings for Perfect Team were 90s, I guess I got it in my head that this week was also going to be a dead ball week, but I was confusing it with a dead ball set. So there's a dead ball set coming out on Thursday, but there's no dead ball week. I made that up in my brain. But man, that would be kind of cool if we had a dead ball week now that I think about it. Um that's why I couldn't find anything on the settings for this week because there are no settings. It's just regular Perfect Team. So regardless, one of the things I wanted to do tonight was to do a baseline test of batter and pitcher attributes in a 2010 run environment. 2010 is, my understanding is, what OOTP uses for modern era. Now that's 14 years ago, but it is more modern than 90s or 60s or the various weeks we've had. When we've done tests before in preparation for these theme weeks, right? I think we've done a good job advancing beyond using the standings to determine which attribute's the most important. We've figured out that there's just too much noise in addition to like those attributes getting um potentially covered up by what other players do, like relief pitchers, or if they're batting attributes, what the pitchers are doing on that team, right? Or even just the coin flip nature of the games. There's just too much that can happen to trust standings, and I think we've proven that now over the last like few dozen experiments. So when we test batting attributes, now we use runs scored because ultimately that's what you want your team to do in Perfect Team is score more runs than the other team. And for pitcher attributes, we go by runs given up because ultimately you want to give up fewer runs. And that, there are also flaws with that, but I think it's less flawed than using the standings. But when we've done it in the past, most recently, I think we did it for a PTCS that was, I can't remember what year it was. It was like 20, was it 29 or something, 1929 or something? Anyway, I think directionally we got some good information in terms of like home runs are not necessarily going to be as nerfed as people were thinking. This is where I think Clay Dog rostered Adam Dunn and who ended up doing well on his team when other people were like shying away from power hitters. Um, but I think one of the big weaknesses was I don't think you can look at those results in isolation. I think we need to do a baseline for 2010 and then figure out, okay, in 2010, BABIP is this much more important than avoid K, which is this much less important than power, which is this much less important than I. I think we know enough to say those are probably the four most important attributes to look at. So then I think what we do then is say, okay, we've established a baseline for 2010. Then each time we do a test for a different era, the conversation isn't around, okay, what's most important? The conversation is what's different from 2010. And I think it'll make more sense once you guys see where I'm going with this. But the first thing we need to do is figure out the baseline for 2010. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to use the average league. One of the sub leagues is going to do the pitching attributes. We'll go stuff, raw movement, which is a substitute for HRA, PBABIP, control. We'll maximize one of those for each team. Batting, we'll do BABIP, avoid K, power, and I. Now we know power is going to be the most important, but that's kind of the point of doing this is power is the most important. If we go to the 1990s, if it's still the most important, that doesn't tell us as much as if it's the most important, but it's still 30% less than what it was in 2010. That's what will tell us something important. So that's what, anyway, we're going to do that baselining today. It's not very sexy, right? It's like, it's just necessary to set up other experiments, but I think it'll still be fun. The other thing that we're going to do, which we haven't done in these experiments, is we're going to leave normalization on. We're going to leave the modifiers on because in perfect team, my understanding is that the modifiers are on. And so I was like, well, then we should have the modifiers on. So those will be the differences from what we usually do. So let's figure out what the pack giveaway form looks like for that. I want to find a previous test that we've done that had two separate results, average league and neutral league. I think the gap and pull hitters one is a good one we can use. Yeah, we'll try this one out. Let me copy this. Episode 186. All right, update the title. Okay. Uh, don't pay attention yet to the text. That needs to be changed quite a bit, but I just want to get this up there so we can start working on it. And that way we can get the pack giveaway form up. People can put their guesses in if they have to split. Okay. So I'm going to start writing from scratch. In tonight's experiment, we will be setting a 2010 modern era in in perfect team for the relative. This is an important thing, right? It's the relative importance of these attributes that we're trying to get to. Um, Attributes. We will then use this baseline data to better understand uh, the results of future era stadium testing. For example, theme weeks, PTCS, PTMS. We will be using our 8-team average league with one sub-league testing pitching attributes and the other subleague testing batting attributes. I don't know. Hopefully, this explanation is making sense to you. To measure importance, we will use team runs scored for batting attributes and team runs allowed for pitching attributes. Because we will also use this method to test other eras, and we want to emulate PT settings, we will leave modifiers on. This is also necessary to maintain the era of the kind of what do I say? What would I say? It's not. It's starting to maintain the um. It's like the feel of the era, but it's actually more than the feel because it's actually like the outcome. So it's the I don't know, like the I guess it's the simulation of the eras. Okay, so in the pitching subleague, there will be a power team, oh wait, let's go in order. Team BABIP. Uh, yeah, for batters, BABIP does go to 500, 550. I mean, team avoid K, team power, for team patience, I. Well, that's not pitching. That's the batting subleague. Pitching subleague, team stuff, team movement, team PBABIP. The maximum there is 250. Team control. We'll use the normal external settings except modifiers set to 2010 and left to auto calculate. So, so in other words, Normalization on. So that means our 550 home run hitters, just to let you know for the pack giveaway guessing, are probably not going to hit 100 home runs or even 70 home runs. Um, but I actually don't know what exactly is going to happen because I don't know if the normalization just looks at the sub league or if it looks across both sub leagues. So because on the pitching side, all the hitters will have power 250. In the batting league, three of the teams will have power 550. One will have power five. Sorry, three of the teams will have power 250, and one will have power 550. So your guess is as good as mine on how much power that actually means will still be left after the normalization happens. So this is a standard. Again, we don't use Price is Right rules. You can be over and still win if you're still the closest. But otherwise, it's the same as normal. No injuries, no suspensions, etc. Again, please use your OTP login ID is case sensitive, so we can get your packs. All right. Which team in the batting sub league will score the most runs? So that's Team Power. Oh no, sorry, I'll go in order. Team BABIP, Team Avoid K, Team Power. Oh wait, I forgot something very important we learned last time. For Team BABIP, it's control equals 500. Control equals 5 with BABIP equals 500. Avoid K increased until control equals 550. And for avoid K, or sorry, it's not control, it's contact. I'm just confusing everybody. Don't mind me. Okay, and then for avoid K, it's contact equals 550. And we get there with avoid K equals 550, and then BABIP is increased until contact equals 550. So the main thing there is we want to compare
Why
things
do you
being
keep
maxed out to
following me
550.
around?
But if you just increase BABIP to 550, contact is not going to get to 550 because of the way it's calculated. So to be more fair, a comparison to power, we're going to crank up the avoid K also until the contact is equal to 550. Come get some. Welcome in. Thank you for the follow. So I hope that makes sense. It's just a way to juice the BABIP and avoid K a little bit because we know power is almost certainly going to come in first again, but this is a way to level the playing field a little bit. And also, frankly, to help us distinguish between what's more important, BABIP contact or avoid K contact. Now, what this does not simulate, and I think is very important in Perfect Team, is it does not simulate the fact that we have more strikeout pitchers in Perfect Team. Come get some. Thank you for the bit. Appreciate it. Thank you for supporting the channel. Um, I think one of the things we might do actually is maybe over the holidays we'll do an experiment where we do this very same experiment, but we do it within a higher stuff environment. So on the batting side, one of the things we are very careful about is only power is changed, or only avoid K is changed, or only contact is changed. But what if we do that same experiment where all the pitchers in the batting league have, instead of their stuff being 400, which is a major league average. What if that increases to 450 or 500? Then a void case should become more important. Then maybe we can see why certain things are happening in perfect team that we might not anticipate based on our experiment, because stuff is no longer average. There's a lot more high stuff pitchers now in that environment. All right, so sorry, I digress. Let me go back to this form so you can win your packs. So which team now, because I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, but power I think is going to come in first. The next question is which one comes in second? All right. And then we'll ask the same of the pitching teams. Oops, what did I just do? No. Which team in the pitching subleague will allow the fewest runs? Right, and so the choices there are team stuff, team movement, team PBABIP, and team control. And then which team will allow the second fewest runs? On pitching, I'm not convinced that I know which answer will win. Will have the fewest runs. So second fewest gets even trickier. And then let's do some numerical questions. I'm just doing some of these older questions from the form I copied to start this one. Okay. In the batting league, sub league, how many home runs will be hit by the sub league leader in home runs? In the pitching sub league, how many strikeouts? Oh, how many? I keep forgetting. This has to be regular season. Strikeouts will be thrown by the sub league leader in strikeouts. And then in back to the batting sub league, in the batting sub league, what will be the batting average of the sub league leader batting average. And then let's copy that in the pitching sub league. What will be the ERA? Qualified for year year end or season end leaderboard. Okay. It should be 162 innings for pitchers, and it should be um I actually don't. It's something odd, like 3.1 plate appearances per game or something. But yeah, you have to show up on the year end stats, the top eight list that you see at the end of each season. Okay, so I think we're good. Team stuff, movement, control. Okay, cool. Let's go ahead and publish this. This new Google Forms, I don't like the interface. It has way more steps to try to get to this stage. It's pretty annoying. All right. Putting it in the chat. Link to form for tonight's 10-pack giveaway. Pin that. All right. Before I set up the base game, I got an update on the progress of my PC, which, so for those of you who might not know, I've been streaming on a laptop that it's fine for playing OOTP. It's apparently underpowered for streaming OOTP. So in particular, if I do streams where, oh, we're gonna pause for ads. All right, I think we're back from ads. Anyway, this laptop is not good enough to stream. The audio starts to cut out, especially if I'm doing a stream where I've noticed it's when I have to change screens a lot within OOTP, or if I have lots of windows open, like if we're referencing BREF and other screens a lot. Like yesterday's theme team setup stream should have been pretty light work on the computer, but I had to have so many browsers open because I'm looking for names and songs, locations referenced in songs, and then bref to see where people were born. And I noticed also between toggling between those and then toggling between screens in OOTP, the laptop just really starts to bog down and the audio starts to cut out. So one of our fellow affiliates who streams in the evenings, also a West Coast guy, let's give him a shout out, the Nolan Network. You might previously know him as the Nolan Network podcast, but now he's the Nolan Network. Um, he's doing a fun 1979 Mariners save and also a 1900s dead ball era save. So if you like watching base game uh, multi-season saves, he's a good one to watch. Anyway, he found this great Black Friday deal on a gaming PC that and he knew I'd been having problems with my laptop. So I ordered it and it's on its way. It's been taking a while, so I've been tracking it. uh and it's now very close. It's in Washington State now. But I thought this was really weird. So we had assumed, well, a couple interesting things happened. So it started here in Miami, right? This kind of makes sense. There's a big FedEx distribution center in our processing center in Murfreesboro. So then I thought from here it'd make more of a straight shot to here, or it would fly, but it didn't. It stayed on the ground, which is fine. It's cheap shipping. It came to Cicero. So when it came to Cicero, the thought was, oh, maybe it'll come across the country here and then go up to Portland. But then it went north, and it's like, okay, well, there's 80 to 84 right here, and that was following that until all of a sudden it went north. There's no interstate up here. There is no interstate. Here, I'll show you. Okay, it was following this right here's this is I think 80 and then no, is it 80 or oh 94 to 90 and then 84 goes straight into Portland. So eventually it comes back to 90 and then it'll hit where's 84? Right here, 84. Hey D Block, we're tracking my computer. But for some reason it left the interstate, which is right here. It left I-94 and it went due north to Bainville, Montana, which I've never heard of. And then it spent a night in Browning, Montana. Again, this is not an interstate up here. Like 15 goes north south, but this is not an interstate. This is State Highway 2. It's on State Highway 2. And then it goes zigzags through these national forests and then finally gets back on I-94. I'm not sure why it didn't do this this interstate. I don't know why it did this little detour. So when it hit St. Cloud and it was like what's today, the 9th? I think it was like the 7th. And the estimate for shipping is the 12th. And I was like, why is it gonna take 5 days? Well, I wasn't counting on this tour of northern Montana and departure from the interstate. But anyway, now it's one state away. It's still scheduled for delivery on Friday. I don't know. I keep thinking Cheney, Washington, Portland, Oregon isn't that far, so maybe it'll get here earlier. But anyway, that's what's going on. The PC is on its way. Um, it will definitely improve my ability to stream without the audio cutting out and stuff. Or I mean, frankly, it's frozen sometimes to the point where I had to reboot it and we lose the entire stream. So I'm hoping it'll be a better experience for everybody, including our late night community. So that's why I'm excited about it. And it should be stable enough to do pack ripping streams, which will help me rip packs because despite having done several pack rips recently, I'm still over 10,000 packs that I need to open. Okay, so let's go back to setting up the experiment. I'm fascinated by this route that it's taking. I was like kind of interested in until it went north to northern Montana yesterday. And I was like, what is happening? This makes no sense. I guess it was 2 days ago. If anyone out there knows why that route would be taken, I would be very interested to know. But in the meantime, oh hey D Block, there's a form pinned to the chat if you want to enter our 10 pack giveaway tonight. We're establishing a baseline for our experiments that we do to test for the run environment for like PTCS or theme weeks. There's a 90s theme week coming up. And so Sunday night, probably, I'll do a 1990s test once we know what year and what stadiums we're talking about. But this way, we have a baseline from 2010 that we can compare those results to. I think the big weakness in some of the experiments we did was okay, we have results, but what do they mean? We didn't have a baseline to compare them to. So this will be our baseline. It's not as exciting or I don't know, fun as some of the experiments we do, but I think this is gonna be one of those experiments where I unexpectedly learned something that I wasn't expecting to learn. The Rocco Sioux Saint, yeah, St. Cloud, Minnesota. You had breakfast with friends' parents in St. Cloud, and the father turned out to have a crush on Meg Ryan. Did he say that in front of his wife? Oh, the other fun thing about this route, by the way, wow, that's cold, man. Oh, she knew? Even if she knows though, it's like, dude, be cool. Be cool, dad. Okay, the other fun thing about this route is it went through Fargo, North Dakota. And right here is Fargo, as in Fargo Friends and Smiley Face Jane. So I mentioned in the Discord that like if I'd known, I would have asked Smiley Face Jane to like bless my PC as it passed through Fargo. Try to impart some Smiley Face Jane championship mojo onto my PC. But anyway, yeah. So it cruised right on past Smiley Face Jane at some point. All right, let me get the base game up here. I just rebooted. That's another thing that I have to do with this laptop. If I reboot right before I start streaming, it it it's been making it through most streams. See, glad it did not end up in a wood shredder. Nice reference, D Block. Oh, you guys playing each other in Gold Rush. That's fun. Okay, one of my favorite things about OOTP having such a good Twitch community is we now kind of know each other so that when we face each other in tournaments, it's like, oh yeah, underdog facing D Block. Awesome. All right, let's get the base game up here. All right, so it's going to be a new game. No, wait, no. We have our average league, so quick start. And this will be, what do I want to call this? Maybe we'll call it era baseline. Let me open a notepad so I can jot this stuff down. Okay, so the quick start we're using is called Average League 4x4 QS16. And the file we're creating is going to be called era baseline 2010. Okay. Now the quick start is set for 2023. So we have to go into the game settings and change it to 2010 settings. The other thing is this is in completely average ballparks. All the ballpark settings are turned to 1. And if we do a PTCS test, or if there's a single stadium they'll be using during theme week, we'll set it to that stadium. All right, so a few things we need to do. The first thing is, before I forget, let's go ahead and change the period settings here. So stats and AI. Okay, we are importing settings for 2010. This is the modern era we're using as our baseline. I'm hoping in in OOTP 26. Wait, is that right? OOTP 26? Yeah, that's right. Um, that they update the modern era to something closer to current day. It doesn't have to be 2020. Uh, oh man, I just freaked myself out realizing it's 2024. How is it 2024? Ah, I feel so old. Anyway, it doesn't have to be set to 2024, but even if it's set to 20, well, 2020 would be weird because of COVID, but it would be nice to have set to something closer to 2024 now. Because 2010, 14 years ago, that's probably already starting to get a little stale. So yeah, we'll set it to 2010. And we were going to unlock the league totals and we're going to use AutoCalc. So now every time we change this, it'll change the modifiers based on the players we bring in. All right. So for example, let's make note of the home runs. Actually, let's AutoCalc them right now. This will calculate it for. Oh, we'll set it to 2010. Okay, so the number of home runs just went down, right? Um, well, that's weird, but the AutoCalc number went up. Oh, because it's the average league. Everyone's average. They're a little too average for a high home run era, so it boosted them up, right? So these are no longer one. We're not we're not going to lock it. We're going to let it keep AutoCalcing because as we add these 550 power hitters and 550 PBAB pitchers, the modifier is going to have to keep adjusting until we're done making all those edits. And then the other thing we need to do is go update our team names. I update the team names first. This is like a big, I mean, in hindsight, it's kind of a no brainer, but I have the team names first to help me keep track of when I'm in each team, what am I editing? Well, I can just look at the team names and know. And Deep Luck and Underdog, I'm not ignoring you, but it seems like you're having a fun conversation between the two of you, so I don't feel like I need to chime in on that. So we're gonna make the average league. We'll make this the batting sub league, and the first team will be Team Babip. Actually, it's technically Team Contact Babip, right? Because we're making Contact 550 primarily through Babip. This is Contact Avoid K. Contact to 550 primarily through Avoid K. This is Team Power. How? And this is Team Patience I. We'll call it I Patience so that we see the I first. Actually, we'll just call it Team I. I think everyone knows that it's I/Patience. I'm kind of a completist. I think it's actually Patience/I in the game, but it's not that important. Okay, this will be the pitching sub league. Team Stuff. Oh, shoot. Team Movement. No, there's no specific HRA rating. HRA is calculated, so raw movement is the one you can actually adjust. PBABIP. PBABIP only goes to 250, another anomaly in the game. And Ripley the Oriole also pointed out to us that Ripley also a relatively late night West Coast. Wait, is Ripley West Coast? Now that I mention it, I don't know. Now I'm doubting myself. Anyway, Ripley does usually stream late also on OOTP, so we'll give Ripley a shout out. But Ripley plays a base game, was doing a Montreal Orioles multi-season save, currently doing a Baltimore Orioles multi-season save that's going very well, winning championships and stuff. But one thing Ripley pointed out is in addition to PBAB being 1 to 250 instead of 1 to 550 like everything else, there's also no um, there's no what's the word I'm looking for? The potential, right? Most other um, attributes have a current value and a potential there. There's no potential. Um, and so there's no apparent way for it to increase or decrease with any kind of um, specificity, right? When you have a young prospect, you can look at their potential and know that there's through some way there's going to be a pathway where that player will get to that or close to that potential. But that doesn't exist for PBABIP. Now, one thing is it could be hidden, but one thing that Ripley mentioned was based on their experience, there's really no way also to improve it. So during drafts, one thing that Ripley looks for is pitchers that already have PBABIP because there's no real apparent way to develop PBABIP. And the hope is that everything else would develop. So all that stuff I found really interesting. I had not really paid that much attention to it, mostly because I'm busy editing attributes to get myself the players I want, and less kind of following the rules of the game and developing players and noticing that PBAP it doesn't really develop, it just is. So I didn't have that insight because I kind of, you know, I won't call it cheating, but I like to manipulate the game using editor. There's all kinds of ways to play the game. There's no right or wrong way to play the game. All right, so now that these names are set, we can make the changes. And you know what? I should say this is a new quick start because this will be a very handy one to use. All we have to do is then change the era to run our experiment. So this is a quick start we'll probably use a lot. So once you go into here, just click on any team, all the names will update, and now we have the names we wanted. So this first team, everyone stays the same except all the batter contacts will go to 550, primarily through increasing avoid K first. Yes, we also play games where we steal other teams' players. That's right. So what Dukes is talking about is we have some community games that I've created based on the ways I've played OOTP in the past, and I wanted to share those with our little late night crew. And so, um, one of them that we played on the stream, Slyface Jane has played it as well on stream. Force Four Trades, where you pick any team in Major League history, you pick any four teams from that season, and you can make them trade you any player you want. Uh, Dukeson's called it stealing. I just call it part of the game. There's another one called Major League Farm Team, where instead of four teams giving you one player, you pick one team to turn into your farm team, and you can take six of their players and you send them back. You send down six players to them. So yeah, but not all of our games involve stealing, right? Like peak performances, you choose five players from your team, and you can bring in whatever you decide is their peak season for those five players. There's also we play create a roster where we take advantage of the player creation engine, and if you get like four legend level players, well, if you pick a legend starting pitcher, we generate five legend level starting pitchers using the player generator, and then you pick which one to keep and which ones to borrow forever. That's right, Dukeston. Now it was a good segue to introduce those games to anyone who might be watching who hasn't seen us play yet. So all right, so we're gonna start making these edits here. I think I guess why I don't consider tonight's stream especially like interesting compared to some of the ones we do is we kind of already know what's gonna happen, but maybe not because we've never done it with the modifiers on. But this is what we're using to then learn about other eras. Now those will be really interesting, but this is kind of like the blocking and tackling we need to do to make that to make those future experiments work. So this is like taking your prerequisites in college. Like maybe you'll be lucky and have a good prerequisite class, but most people aren't super into, you know, economics 101. Okay, so this is what I mean about if you just make BABIP 500 or 550. Oh no, sorry, this is a void K. Now, if you'll watch, contact will increase because contact is calculated using BABIP and avoid K. Okay, but we only get to 483. This is why just maximizing avoid K was not a fair comparison to maximizing power because power is its own attribute. It goes right to 550. Well, the equivalent to power is contact, but contact's only 483. So we're going to boost this until it gets to 550. And the one downside of this is you don't have a ton of separation between contact through avoid K and contact through BABIP because you can see there's only an 18-point difference here. So, you know, In some ways, like the really interesting thing to do would be to leave this at 400 and then compare this to a power of 483 and an eye of 483. But then that's not as fun. So the trade-off is we have two contact teams that are going to end up playing pretty similarly, but there's always the question around like which is more important, BABIP or Avoid K. We were trying to see if we can suss that out. But yeah, so Dukeson also saying the two teams will be similar. They should be very similar. Only in like a pretty in an environment with like lots of strikeouts or very few strikeouts, I think that would cause the difference to become more apparent. So we want 532, 550. Now I'm changing the potential number just in case. We do have player development turned off, so it shouldn't matter, but I believe in being safe instead of sorry, so we're going to increase that to 532 and 550 as well. The other thing is, someone mentioned in one of the streams today. I hadn't really thought about it, but they said, "Oh yeah, the new version is only 3.5 months away," and I was like, "Wow, that's really close. That's like right around the corner." It also makes you realize I started playing Perfect Team this time last year, so I didn't realize. I mean, of course I realized, but it didn't really sink in how close to the end of the cycle I actually started playing. But it also means I need to start planning for what experiments I want to do right at the very beginning of the next cycle. So as soon as we get the new game, there are a bunch of experiments I want to do to figure out, like, okay, in PT24, PBABIP was a huge thing. It's much less important this year. And so, what are those things that might be different between the simulation engines for PT24, PT or OOTP24, OOTP25, and then coming up OOTP26? I mean, I do it because I just like understanding how the game works. But now that I play Perfect Team, I think, oh, well, this is also useful information for anyone playing Perfect Team. So I do think it'd be cool if this just becomes like an annual tradition where we, you know, crank up the new game, and one of the first things we do is run some experiments to figure out how is this game compared to previous versions. Okay, so that team's done. Okay, so this is the BABIP team. I just have to do the now. It might not be 532 and 550. We'll have to see what it looks like. But in this case, we get to the 550 contact by increasing BABIP. You see, it's already higher. It's 507. When Avoid K was 550, it was only, I think, 483 was the number. See, I only have to go to 518 instead of 532. So already we're seeing. I would say that suggests that BABIP is more powerful than Avoid K. But like I said, Avoid K is probably more important when there's a high strikeout environment. So 550, 518 are the edits we're making here on this team. Yeah, Duke said, doesn't OOTP 26 sound weird? It will also be interesting to see if we feel any kind of difference in how OOTP is designed, launched, run, whatever. I mean, is there going to be anything noticeable to us as players in the post Marcus era? Oh, Underdog. I was listening to a good bit of Seawit's stream, but I did not hear the 26 conversation unless it was about the combinators. I heard the discussion about the combinators. So if it was about like what combis will like in 26, I did hear that. But if it was a general conversation about 26, I would be very interested to hear that. So I might check out his VOD. That also means if Underdog heard that whole conversation, Underdog probably does not need any more drops. So I appreciate you being here. That was it. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I just think the big thing is, and I hadn't really thought about this until I heard Seawit talking about it, and I did appreciate that it was a thoughtful conversation. It wasn't just like complaining or bashing combis. It was a very good. Um, I thought it was a very good kind of positive conversation, which was nice to see. Um, I just thought like why roll them out with like unlimited use of them? Why not start off with like one combi tournaments and get people used to the idea of it and seeing how powerful they can be and then get them like excited about like like get some more because we have 5 combi tournaments coming up and then 10 combi tournaments, but like the way they just like kind of blew in and took over, especially Iron just became like a couple of all combi teams just winning everything. And some people kept playing, but I was just like, I don't want to be cannon fodder for 2 or 3 teams that. Yeah, and underdog, I don't even care who fumbled the ball. I just am like, and even me complaining about like why like they fumbled the ball. It's like there's nothing we can do, but like maybe learn from it, and do something different in in 26. Yeah, Dukeson, I'm not as negative on them. I'm super negative on the experience of how they were rolled out. Because if you're not one of the 2 or 3 people who just like stocked up on them right away and just started destroying everybody, it was not fun for anybody else. But I think if they were introduced and promoted as like another thing to, add some variety to your team and your performance, just like sliders and LEs and, whatever it might be. But like, the way I've been talking about it is like I don't mind if they're a tool in the game. I just don't want the whole game to be about combinators. So because I like roster building, I like figuring out my sliders, I like figuring out my rotations and my lineups. And like combis make me feel like none of that stuff matters because it's pointless because I can't beat an all combi team. Yeah, you leveled your first combinator and want nothing to do with that on a large scale, underdog. I hear that. I can see how some people might find it interesting and fun. I I am over it after like trying to boost one card a couple levels. I find it very tedious. Okay, that team is done. Oh, we have a mix of pitching and batting teams because it's in alphabetical order. Because now this is team control, so I have to shift my brain over to pitching editor. Now, fortunately, control is one of the easiest ones because it is just a straight up swap, just like power or avoid K. Well, yeah, speaking of resources underdog, when I think about like how Iron was just taken over by those couple of all combi teams early on, it's just the rich getting richer because they're just winning all the perfect packs and getting, getting all the cards, selling those cards, I'm sure, to get a bunch of perfect points to then buy and boost more combis. And look, I have no problem with those players. They are doing what the game incentivized them to do. And they had the foresight to do it before, I did for sure, and before many other players did. So my qualm is not with them. It's just the way the whole concept was rolled out. I think it would have been a very different experience for everybody if they had started with, one combi tournaments and then five combi tournaments and then 10 combi tournaments. And then after that, by all means, have unlimited combi tournaments. But by then, people know what they're getting into. Um, and they already have like their favorite, 5 or 10 combis. It's much easier to then build up a team that way. But yeah, I don't know. Plus, it seemed like they didn't. It seemed like there was no like prior vetting of the idea. It seemed like it was just unleashed because I don't know anyone who heard about it in beta or were asked about it in advance or I guess it was floated and there was a bunch of feedback, but it seems like it wasn't heard. But anyway, it is what it is. I just hope going forward that it's a more positive experience for everyone. Games with Chris, thank you for the follow. Appreciate it. Welcome in. Okay, so that team is done. We're 3 teams in now. Team I and Patience. This is another one, easy one to edit, so I'm grateful for these. Under said they also figured out how to prey on uninformed players in the combi card shop. Oh, for sure. Yeah, I'm sure people got fleeced in the early days of combis. Which again is not a way to engender goodwill among your playing community, right? Like who wants to find out a week later like what a fool they'd been and then they have to live with it and watch that player destroy them in tournaments. Or I guess I should say they were fool, how ignorant they were, right? And like I don't think of ignorant as necessarily pejorative unless it's woefully ignorant. You just didn't know any better. Someone took advantage of you, and now they're going to use that card they got from you to just destroy you in tournaments. That's not a fun experience. So yeah, like at its heart, I don't mind it as an idea. I think it could be interesting, but again, I want it to be a tool in the toolbox. I don't want the whole game to be about combinating cards. Because then I would play out of the park combinator. I wouldn't be playing out of the park baseball. Okay, so wow, that was fast. That team is done. Okay, now movement is a tricky one because the way I keep wondering if I should give home run suppression the same treatment I give contact, right? I didn't just stop at making a void K 550 or um Babbitt 550, right? I made sure that contact went up to 550. Well, there is an HRA score here, and if you make movement 550, oh, okay, it does track. Okay, that's fine then. Okay, I'm okay with that then. Yeah, I thought the way this was calculated didn't always track directly, but it seems like it is. So I withdraw my objection. But look at this, right? Current versus lefty, current versus righties, and then potential. Even your pitches, current and potential. Now, it's not just PBAB. Like, for example, velocity has no potential number. I'm surprised that it doesn't. But here's PBAB. You saw all the batting ones too, right? All the batting ones have current left, current right, potential. But you get to PBAB, and it's just one number, and there's no potential number, and it goes to 250 instead of 550. Why is it so weird? Like, why couldn't they scale it to 550? That's another thing that makes me wonder, like, what is going on in that number that it couldn't scale up to 550 like everything else? And I'm not saying it's good or bad. It just makes me like want to understand why it's different. There's one more. Oh, there's plenty more. Okay, that team is done. All right, here we go with P-Babbitt now. This is the weird one. Not only can we only set it to 250 instead of 550, watch what happens when I move down to the next player and then move back up. The game has recalculated to 247 for some reason. And so if I try, no, it's not 247. I want it to be 250. I go down and I go back up. It's 247 again. I have no idea why that is. It is part of the mystery that is P-Babbitt. That's it. That was because we know how to do the potential. I guess it goes faster. Power, also an easy change. It's just one number. Oh, it's VR, VLS, and potential. It's technically three numbers, but it's just one attribute number. Dixon says, "Darn autocorrect Google has its hands on OOTP as well." What did it autocorrect for you? Oh, 247. That's funny, Dixon. I didn't even think about it that way. That's funny. All right, this should be the next team is the one that's gonna be complicated because stuff is a calculation of multiple things. G-Buck says, to be honest, I do not have the drive to do anything in OTP right now. I did feel that way after PTCS. I was like, I could use a couple day break from OTP after PTCS. I know. Devon says, I don't have the energy to do anything in OT right now. And Dixon says, make a PvE player, which is still in OTP. That's great. No, Dixon, I do get that it's different. I just don't think of it as drastically different. I still think of it as like living in OOTP. Underdog, you ran into a 22 combi team. That's why I like to play the. In some levels it's late, in some levels it's early, but I like to play those tournaments that have the zero combi tournaments. All right, we're up to the last team. This is the most complicated team, though, is team stuff. Now, one day we may find out that by doing it this way, we're actually like making the 550 stuff much higher or much more or less effective than it could be. But the shortcuts to power to stuff are boosting the velo and then boosting the pitches. Now, I actually start with making a 550 fastball. You can see we're already at 526 now. Now there's starter stuff and reliever stuff. So we have to make sure that we're working on the starter right now. That we're because this is going to go way high. Now we know the changeup is super powerful, but it also tends to make them reverse splitty. So I like to work on the slider next. 500's too much. I think was it 438 for some reason that sticks in my mind. No, it's more than that. 453. No, it's more than that. All right, 455 will do it. At least for the starters. What was the combi limit on Daily Diamond, Underdog? None. Yeah, those are my favorite. Oh, which reminds me, I need to sign up real quick for um, a couple of tournaments. They don't fill up as fast as they did early in the cycle, but these live and combi limited tournaments, they do fill up pretty fast. Oh, that's right. I don't have to do that one anymore. So halfway through the cycle, PTS cycle, I switched my silver team to try to qualify for gold too. And it was that gold tournament that I think fires at 10 o'clock. I think it's gold only that has a combi limit, but I'm not. I'm good. I still need to qualify for silver again first. So yeah, so I don't have to sign up for that right now. Oh, it's 455. That's right, not 450. Boost the velo 550, 455. Another starter, boost the velo 550, 455. Okay, this is a reliever now. So we boost the velo. Now you see here we're already up to 538. That's too high. 518 or 418. Who's the Velo? We got Duckbread, another starter who's way down here because of they were renamed. We have a channel point redemption where you can rename a player. This one was renamed by AW. Okay, so that team is done. We are ready to go. I can say this as a quick start. Now, I know it won't save in the quick start. I know that is true, but it still makes me want to do this before saving the quick start, just in case it somehow. Oh, wait. Trade rumors are. There should be no trade rumors. So, does that mean we forgot to turn trades off? Let me go check after I do this here. No, trades are off. That's right. Okay, so first let's save the game. And now let's save this as a quick start. Quick starts are essentially backups, but they're much easier to access. So I've started using them instead of backups. Now let me go back to my notepad. What do we call this quick start? We're going to call it ERA baseline 2010 QS. And that ERA means era, by the way. Era baseline 2010 QS. Ooh, I can't add a number to it, so we'll call it era base 2010 QS01 because we will probably end up needing to edit this over time. It is a little annoying that the file name limitation is so short in OOTP. Batting subleague and pitching subleague attributes set 550 set BABIP PBABIP. Underdog Miss Doctor, I think it's hilarious and on brand that he spent at least 4 combined hours on stream building his PTS roster and wasn't able to upload it properly, so he played Gym Unknowns. That's amazing. So I don't know. I feel like I've been watching Doc streams, but for some reason I felt like they hadn't registered recently. And so when he was saying something about like a Red Rock League, oh, it was a Red Rock League opening day. And I assumed the beta was done because he's been doing the beta for so long. So I was just kind of joking. I said, "Oh, is this the beta opening day or the real opening day?" And it actually was the beta opening day. And so I was like, "Oh, that wasn't funny at all. I didn't think it was still in beta mode." So the beta is not gonna. Is the beta even gonna be done before the new game is out? Because won't he need to do a new beta for the new version, or is he just gonna keep playing? Underdog says Red Rock League will be in beta until PT 2028. So I guess Dukeson in 2026 he can still play it on OTP 25. I think I heard is it PBE or EMLB that only moves to a new version of the game every 2 years or something, which makes sense. I think that's sensible. I mean, honestly, before I started playing Perfect Team, I didn't buy OTP except every 2 or 3 years because I just played the base game. I, you know, I never played going forward, so I didn't care about having the newest player files in there. I was always playing historical stuff, so It was like a new version to me was invisible. Oh, you think OTP is working in the background to help that? Okay, that's interesting. It almost made me wonder though. I wonder how um the other league owners and uh whoever runs the other leagues thought about Red Rock League getting support from OOTP. I guess they get support. Do they get support from OOTP too? Oh, you think the Red Rock League is going to be the OOTP League brand? I see. Can we be the OOTP League brand breakers of the game? All right, let's see. I think everything's set here. I already saved the quick start, so we're good there. So we can, so by saving the quick start, basically we can come back to this point in time anytime we want. So when we do the 1990s experiment, once we find what year it is, we can just go back into this quick start, set this year to that year, set this year to that year, and then we should be good to go. So that's why this quick start will be very helpful. All right, so anytime we're ready to start a sim, um, Tukes says, I feel like it is something to bring to OTV. Let me break your game. It'll be fun. All right, so this is normally the point where I run 3 minutes of ads so that it's your 3 minute warning to fill out your pack giveaway form. And it's also my chance to refill my water and stuff. So I'll see you after 3 minutes. Go ahead and please submit your pack giveaway forms in the meantime. Wait, why did it fail to start a commercial? That's weird. Oh, it's running them now. Oh, wait, it's running 30 seconds of commercials. What? I don't. Okay, I'm gonna wait till these ads are over because I mean I can't do anything in 23 seconds. I can maybe get to the kitchen in 23 seconds. All right, let's try this again. I don't know if it'll let me do this now though because ads just ran. I'm very bad at using Twitch. I'm also very bad at using OBS. Uh, What if does it matter where I type it in? Will it help if I type it in here? Yeah, I don't know. Maybe D Block knows why it's not letting me roll ads. Is it because it just ran a 30-second ad? I mean, what? I don't think there's anything else I need to do to set the game up. I think everything's good to go. I mean, one thing I can do is I can spot check my work. Every once in a while, I do catch myself having made a mistake. Yeah, these all look at that. How cool does that look? 95 contact from 95 avoid K. That's pretty good. BABIP team is the opposite. 95 contact from 95 avoid 95 BABIP. This is interesting. They're average at everything else. They're completely average at everything else. But you give them crazy contact and BABIP, and they're a 5-star player. You can be average at everything else, but that will give you 5 stars. Um, I. Now the interesting about I is it does not give you 5 stars. But everyone does have the I. I'm just making sure I didn't make any mistakes here. And then power. Yep, everyone's got the right power. Now let's go to pitching. And let's make sure everyone has the right control. Yep. Let's go to movement. HRA movement. Yep. Let's go to PBABIP. Yep. Oh, right. The movement's up because PBAP is part of the calculation for movement. Yeah. And stuff. There we go. All right. Everything's set. Looks good. Let's try this again. I mean, I could just put up the BRB screen, I guess. Oh, it looks like it worked that time. All right. Please take this time to finish up your pack giveaway forms. Well, that's weird. It says it's rolling the ads, but I don't see the ads rolling on my tablet. All right, I'm just going to put the BRB screen up then. All right, I'll be back in approximately 3 minutes. I'm just worried now, though, that since it only ran 30 seconds of ads, that it's going to interrupt our simulation with ads. Like, that's the other reason I do this right before we sim, is so that we don't get interrupted. Okay, it's acting like it already did the 3 minutes of ads. So I'm just putting the BRB up. And hopefully we don't get interrupted during the stream. All right, I'm back. I don't know how close to 3 minutes that was, but I'm going to close the form for the pack giveaway unless anyone tells me they're right just about to hit submit. Okay. Form is now closed. Let's take the. I've been forgetting to take down the pin, so I'm remember to do that tonight. Okay. We've got 4 contestants tonight. I feel like 4 to 5 is our sweet spot. When it gets down to like 3, I always wonder where everybody is. And sometimes we'll have like 9 or 10, and I'm like, what is happening tonight? But 4 to 5 is kind of our usual. All right, I'm gonna hide the names for now, and then I'll resize the columns a little bit to make it easier to see, and then I'll go ahead and pop that up on the screen. Okay. We hide the numerical ones until the end of the simulation, but this will give us an idea where people are. Which team in the batting subleague will score the most runs? It's a split between Power and BABIP. And then which team will score the second most runs? It's a reverse. Whoever said Power said BABIP second. Whoever said BABIP said Power second. Pitching is a little more interesting here. Two for movement, two for stuff. Um, which is a little surprising because early in PT25 it seemed like the movement, the HRA control, uh, despite super low stuff, seemed to be the thing. I think now more people are gravitating towards stuff um, later in the cycle, but everyone's still on HRA, it seems. So that might be a good guess there too. And then which team will finish second? This is all over. We have P Batman, movement control, and stuff. We have a guess for every attribute there, so that's fun. So if we're still tied through the pitching, the tie will be broken. We won't have to go the numericals, but the numericals are fun, so we're still going to go over those. All right. Now the other fun thing we did, uh, if you sim a day, right, it doesn't start the season yet, but it does generate the predictions. Now the predictions aren't always right, but they're not always wrong either. Okay, according to this, in the batting side league, it's going to be BABIP that's going to score the most runs, and Power is going to be third. So BABIP, contact with BABIP first, contact with the void case second, and then Power will be third. That's interesting. In the pitching sub league, runs against, Stuff is projected to have the fewest runs allowed. P BABIP second, movement third, and control last. Very interesting. Now, AW and I have talked about this before. AW has done a lot of this attributes analysis for PBE. And one thing we talked about was if stuff is important, that means the calculation of whether a strikeout happens or not is happening earlier in the sequence of game calculations than we previously thought. Because I had always been led to believe through discussions in the forums and my own experience of the game that Stuff kind of swooped in towards the tail end of the calculation, said, okay, the game has already calculated that you're going to make an out. Stuff is then going to decide whether that out is a strikeout or not. But the fact that Stuff is so effective at suppressing runs suggests that that strikeout calculation is happening much earlier, and is saying, do you strike out or not? Might even be one of the first calculations. Then goes on to, okay, you didn't strike out. Do you then make an out or get a hit or walk or whatever it might be? But it seems like the stuff calculation is happening earlier in the game than I thought, or it's been moved earlier in the game. So that's interesting. All right. Well, those are interesting predictions. I am going to screenshot those, in fact. Now, we could just end it here and say, okay, well, the game has told us what's going to happen. Therefore, stuff is the most important pitching attribute, whatever. But the reason I'm screenshotting these is I want to compare them to what our experimental results are. If there is a big deviation, I will wonder what happened. If there isn't, then I feel like we almost get like a free extra data set to support our conclusions. So that will be fun to see. All right, let's start the sim. We get a quick 2-game sim. That's not really going to tell us much, so let's do a first full month. Okay, let's see where we are. 1 month in. Not much separation, so we can't really tell anything. Again, this is one of the reasons why we went to looking at runs scored and runs allowed, because either you don't get a lot of separation, or when we did get separation, it didn't always make sense. And part of it could be that, like, we didn't understand everything. But I think what was more realistic was it was just the coin flips and all the other things that could impact wins or losses were getting in the way. Now, interestingly, in the pitching sub league, the home run leaders have 4, 4, and 3. In the batting sub league, the home run leaders have 13, 13, and 2. So we're seeing almost a 3x uh, power output there. Again, and this is with modifiers on, so there's still a lot of it. Now, I guess it is modifying across both subleagues, though, to see this. If they're modifying within each subleague, then these should be about equal. Now, these results, the separation is much tighter because we turned the modifiers off. That I'm already noticing. We've done this experiment before with the modifiers off, and these home run totals will be through the roof already, and this separation will be much tighter. Oh, that's why power is not running away with it. When we turn modifiers off, power is definitely by far the most important attribute. But with the modifiers on, we're seeing very different dynamic here. All right, let's sim to the end of June. Yeah, so if modifiers nerf power, then yes, contact will rise up to be more. The 66 game on base streak by average outfielder 4. 50. Now, I'm going to screenshot this. I'm guessing this player is on Team I, just because I is a much more consistent way to get on base. But BABIP is so powerful that maybe it's a BABIP guy. No, he's on I. I was right about that. That's good. Now this guy though, with a slightly shorter streak, one of these two could be BABIP. Yeah, there's a BABIP guy. Oh, this is a scoreless inning streak by a stuff guy. Okay, well that's interesting. All right, we're gonna sim to the All-Star break. Leading vote getters, average infielder 2 and average outfielder 2. Okay. On the pitching league, it's pretty tight. The top two teams are tied. Stuff and PBABIP. Control is 4 games behind, and movement is 10 games behind. And again, the reason we're establishing this baseline is I don't think anyone could argue in perfect team that home run suppression is the least important of these attributes. We know it's important, but what we'll be able to do is say whatever this ends up being, relatively speaking, does that become more or less important in other eras? And that's what we're missing before. This is why I think our assessment of different eras will become much better now. So we have one more day to actually get to the All Star break. And PBAB jumps ahead by half a game. On the batting side, avoid K contact is in the lead, which would have surprised me if we hadn't already decided that standings are not the way to measure this. So we could, though, take a look and see halfway through the season what do the team stats look like. So runs scored. Avoid K has just a few more runs than Babbitt, but as we discussed earlier, these two teams should be very similar because their Babbitt Avoid K splits are so tight. Because to get the contact to 550, we had to boost both of them pretty high. Power second is 685. Now, if we had taken modifiers off, this power number would be way ahead of the others because we've done it. We've done it before. But that was the other thing I remembered is that the tournaments, I do believe, have modifiers on. And so this also shows why contact is more important than power, which we would never assume in the base game. All right, home run challenge. This is kind of meaningless because these are all average players or they have super high power. And of course, all 8 are from the power team. But it's kind of fun to do anyway. Average infielder or catcher 1 advances. Average infielder 3 beats average infielder 6. Infielder 7 beats outfielder 4. And outfielder 1 beats outfielder 3. These are all teammates. No surprise here. Average infielder 3 faces average outfielder 1 in the final. And congratulations to average infielder 3. 12-9 in the final. All right, we'll sim the All Star game. All Star MVP is average infielder 3. I wonder if that's the same average infielder 3 who won the home run title here, or the home run championship. Oh, it must be, right? Because there's only. Yeah, it must be, because there's only. They're all from the same power team. Yeah, infielder 3. He won the All Star home run challenge, and he was the player of the game for the All Star game. Yeah, big weekend for this guy, hitting 305 with 31 home runs. Now, this is an effect that we've discussed many times before, but you would think because this team, the power team, only their power was increased to 95 to 550. Their contact was still 400, so they should be hitting 250, right? Well, he's hitting 305 because he's hitting 250, but then you're adding a bunch of home runs that are not part of the contact calculation. So there's the number of base hits you would expect based on the contact rating. A bunch of home runs were added because the home run rating was boosted, and those extra home runs are also extra base hits, hence the increased average. So those The batting average increase from about 250 to 300 is not from contact, it's from home runs. All right, we're going to go back to the standing screen. We'll sim out the rest of the month. 17 game quality start streak by average starter 2. Is he from the stuff team? He is. All right, let's sim out the month of August. Now, I did say power gives you unexpected base hits, which boosts your average, but it doesn't boost it nearly enough to get, to BABIP or avoid K maxed out players, but it is much higher than it would be on its own. All right, we have 1 month left to play. We'll just sim to the end of the end of the regular season. 15 game run streak per average infielder 6. All right, we have 1 game left to play. All right, ERA crowd, pitching wins, home run champion. We'll find out who those are later. Okay. In the batting sub league, contact driven by avoid K finished in first place, and power finished in second place. Contact driven by BABIP actually finished in third, 6 games behind power. I wonder if our run totals will reflect that as well. On the pitching side, PBABIP is in first place. Stuff is in second, 7 games behind, followed by control and movement. Now look at the home run totals. The home run leader in uh, the batting sub league hit 60. You can tell the normalization is on there because at 550 power, we've seen guys with 550 power hit 90, 100 home runs. And so the 60 is from the nerfing from normalization. It also nerfs is going to further nerf. These are average hitters, but they're facing phenomenal pitchers. So that's going to push down their home run totals. But also having all these power hitters in the AL is going to push down further the home runs hit in the NL. Like your RBI leader has 48 RBI at the All Star break versus 126 in the other league, other sub league. Okay. So let's. Not the All Star break. We're already at the end of August. Oh no, we're at the end of the season. Oh yeah, no, these are season totals. Right, right, right. So yeah, this is about what you would have expected. The RBIs are way lower than I would expect, though. Okay, so we need to finish today to get to the postseason. Oh no, we already did that. Okay, so it's going to be PBABIP and stuff versus and control avoid contact avoid K and power headed to the postseason. All right, let's send the first round. All right, contact from avoid K and stuff advance to the World Series. Both series go to 7. And again, this is small sample size and then small sample size, so this is really more for fun. The stats will tell us what we want to know. And who won the World Series? Stuff wins in 7 games. Okay, let's spin through the postseason awards, and then we'll give away some packs. Great Glove Awards. They should have no bearing on pitching or batting attributes, but let's see. In the AL, it's a pretty good mix of teams. Avoid K maybe a tiny bit overrepresented. I don't understand. It's probably just coin flipping. There's no reason I would expect that to happen. Similar here, pretty random feeling. Uh, so that's not unexpected. Reliever of the year. Probably be on the stuff team. Oh, oh, right. Because these pictures are, well, no, that's interesting that the relief of the year came from. Oh no, of course. Sorry, each sub league gets its own relief of the year. So usually, if you win a pitching award, you're on the team that's the most effective offensive team because you don't have to face the most effective offensive team. So contact avoid K may end up that might be a sign pointing towards them being the most efficient, effective scoring team. And how about the AL leader of the year? Wow, 29 versus 28 points. That's the closest race. Well, of course, it's the closest it can be. But the winner of the reliever of the year went 7-1 with one save and a 4.24 ERA. When we do creator roster, you have to have a sub 1 ERA usually to win the reliever of the year. All right. We're going to sim to the Platinum Stick Awards. Again, these should be random. Oh, no. Sorry. They should be random in the pitching league, except for the what I just mentioned about if you're on the by far the best pitching team, you probably should generate more platinum stick awards. So, but it looks pretty average. I mean, pretty random. I guess PBAP shows up 4 times. Stuff shows up one, two. Yeah, just twice. And the AL, interesting, is mostly power. That's probably more a reflection of the AI likes to vote for guys with home runs in the All Star balloting. Okay, rookie of the year. There are no rookies in this league. Everyone's average age, which is 26 to 29. Cy Young Award. Well, this is 5 of the top 6 vote getters for Cy Young Award were on one of the contact teams, either Contact Avoid K or Contact BABIP. And on the pitching side, the team stuff, the sweep of the top Cy Young awards. So definitely expecting stuff runs to be, if not first, then second. MVP voting. Let's see who won these. In the batting league, two of the power at the top. Wow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6 of the top 7 vote getters are power, team power. On the pitching team, it's a mix between PBAP and stuff. So if your MVPs are on those teams, they're not facing those pitchers. So PBAP and stuff, probably the top 2 uh, defensive stats. So we'll see. We'll confirm that. Okay, we can save this game now. So we don't lose the data. Now, if we go to the Major League Stats, we'll start to see what's going on here before we look at the team-based stats. 222 average is the league leader in batting average in the pitching league. That's just how good all the pitchers are. Even if they're average at everything else, by being maxed out at one attribute, created an entire league where the league leader had hit 222. Now, in the offensive league, you see a lot of avoid K and BABIP here. These are all contact hitters, of course, because it's batting average. Home runs, of course, is all power hitters. Now, on base percentage, though, is not all I. There's a lot of contact players here, so they're making enough contact to beat out the God I team players. the top two OPS are power hitters, as well as four of the top six. Let's look at pitching leaders. In the batting league, at least you have ERA leaders. A lot of times, because modifiers were on, probably, if they're off, then no one qualifies because no one can pitch enough innings and they get crushed so bad. So, for example, there were 14 quality starts in this pitching league. If we go to the batting league, oh, sorry, if we go to the pitching league, there were 32 quality starts. So 3x. Right, the ERAs are 1.25. The ERA leader in the batting league was 5.13. So the sim is doing what it was meant to do. All right, so let's go to the team statistics. And let's also look at the pitching statistics. All right, we have the data we need. Let's go ahead and unhide the Twitch user IDs and we'll give away some packs. Okay, as far as establishing a baseline, this worked really well. I'm pretty happy with the results here. Okay, so in the batting sub league, which team will score the most runs? I had forgotten to take into account the modifiers. So I would have guessed power. And I would have been wrong by about 50 runs. Team Avoid K just squeaks past Team BABIP by 2 runs. But I think the takeaway here is that contact is in a modified environment. Contact leads to the most runs, not power. In an unmodified environment, power all the way. We've shown that multiple times. But it's interesting in the modified league how much that changes. So I've been applying unmodified base game logic to my rostering choices in Perfect Team. And I need to stop doing that. I need to pay a lot more attention to contact uh, than I do to power. And I say contact because if we run this with high stuff pitchers, I can almost guarantee that contact avoid K is going to drop relative to contact BABIP. But that's something to test for. We'll definitely do it. Okay, so it was team avoid K actually that was 2 runs ahead. So no one got that first one right. So everyone is still in play. That saved the power teams. The fact that people guessed BABIP instead of avoid K and that there's a 2 run difference between the two, the power teams are still in the running. Which one would finish second? Avoid K was first. BABIP was second. All right, so that we do have two advancing. CBO 49er and Kayaking Santa. Okay, which team in the pitching sub league will give up the fewest runs? And that answer is giving up a minuscule 313 runs, Team P BABIP, which no one guessed. The BABIP guessers, or the power BABIP guessers, both guessed movement. Which one will then finish second? Second fewest. That would be Team Stuff. Kayaking Santa, congratulations. So yeah, Kayaking Santa is going to win 7 packs. CBO 49er is going to win 3 packs. But let's one of my favorite things to do is go over these numericals to see Who's our champion guesser? Oh, and if anyone won packs in the last, I think since Tuesday, I apologize. Normally, Wednesday I have off from streaming, and oh no, sorry, over the weekend. I owed people packs since going back to Thursday, I think, and those should have all gone out today when Nicolino hit the office, and he let me know that they had been sent. But some of those could have gone out on Friday. I just was kind of wrapped up in PTCS rostering. So for those of you who might have won packs on Thursday and Friday, I apologize that they probably didn't get to you till today. Okay, in the batting sub league, how many regular season home runs will be hit by the league leader? The answer was 60. So Kaki Santa takes that one with a very nice guess of 69. In the pitching sub league, how many regular season strikeouts will be thrown by the strikeout leader? So let's check that out. 377 strikeouts. And that's with modifiers on. Unmodified, that's probably like 450 strikeouts, maybe 500. So, man, Kaiki Santa with 333. Highest guess, closest guess. In the bank sub league, what will be the highest batting average? 381. Again, Kaiki Santa, highest guess, closest guess. That's usually Smiley Face Jane's thing. Smiley Face Jane is incredible at being able to just guess high enough and always being the highest guesser on everything. And that's partly why Smiley Face Jane wins so many packs from us. Clay Dog, I think, has been second the most times. All right, the last numerical is in the pitching sub league. What will be the ERA leader's ERA? 1.25. Wow, no one was able to guess low enough, but Kaiki Santa did guess the lowest. Kaiki Santa, clean sweep. All the numericals. Woo! We haven't seen that, I don't think. Now, we'll attribute that partly to Kayaking Santa being awesome, partly to Smiley Face Jane not having an entry. Yeah, you push both extremes very well. Nice job. 99.9% Jane not here. Okay, now the most important thing though, well, there's two important things we're gonna do. And actually I might as well do them on stream. So let me do this right now. I want to create a table that is, let's see, batting team. And let me get them in the order. Okay. So the batting team's runs scored, contact avoid K was first, power was second, contact Babbitt was third, I was last. So the number of runs scored were 1206. Power is 1158. Oh no, these are just the order in which they finished. They're not. They're actually the in order of runs scored. Now, I think, and I might change this, my feeling on this as we do our, like the 1990s theme week test, is what is the percentage of the total? And we're going to function F for this. Will have to be in the parentheses, I guess. Now, if I'm going to make this a relative score, I divide everything by the lowest. The lowest is this. Yeah, so in relative terms, in 2023, I is the least important to scoring runs. And then sign of why we're seeing what we saw is because of this, right? If I is the least important, the both types of contact and power are not that different from each other, but they're very different from I. So really what we're looking for is what is the deviation from these patterns when we do the sim for a different era. So I'll make this for the pitching team. And these will be for runs allowed. And that is PBABIP, stuff, control, movement. And the runs allowed were 423, 422, 345, 336. Oh no, those are runs scored. Sorry. I need to see their pitching stats. I was like, those don't make sense. Okay, PBABIP, runs allowed 313, 331, 444, 438. So the benchmark needs to be I almost want it to be the inverse, right? Like the 1 over. Well, first of all, we need to change the reference to G4. I almost think I want this to be 1 over this because I want We want higher to be good, right? Yeah, so PBABIP is 40% more uh, important to suppressing runs than control. Stuff is 34% more, and movement is barely more important. See, here's the thing though, that does not match up at all with what we see in the base game or what we see in Perfect Team. Right? In Perfect Team, it almost seems like PBABIP doesn't even exist. But this is why this is important because if we go to other eras, we want to see how this changes relatively to each other. But this also makes me wonder if the similarities between the base game engine and the Perfect Team engine are more different either than we've been led to believe or they're just very different this year. Because there's no one, I don't think, who plays Perfect Team who would say PBAP is 42% more important than control and movement. That control and movement are the least important things. If anything, at the beginning of the cycle, they were the most important things. So that's a really surprising finding. But again, we're only looking at, for purposes of preparing for theme week and PTCS, we're only looking for the shifts in these. So if in another era, right, instead of 1.4 and 1.3, this is like 1.4 and 1.1, I would say, oh, stuff is way less important in this other era. And not take away so many conclusions about the importance of PBAB, for example. But these are very surprising results given everything we've seen with PBAB in Perfect Team. So it does make me question the effectiveness of this analysis for perfect team at least. It's very helpful for playing the base game. All right. Well, I don't know if anyone else found that interesting. I think it'll be more interesting when we do the comparisons to other eras, but I still find this stuff fascinating. So let's put this back up and let's find someone to raid into. Oh, Baffle streaming. Let's raid into Baffle. Let me see what Baffle's up. All right, we're gonna raid into Baffle. Baffle is playing college football, and he is an active OOTP player and participant in the community, and overall awesome streamer, awesome guy. Baffle 99. All right, thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciate it. Hope you found that interesting or informative. And congrats to our pack winners. And we'll see you tomorrow night. I'll be on again at 10 a.m., 10 p.m. No, we go on a little earlier tomorrow because TJ goes on. He raids into Ezra a little earlier, so I go on around 9:30 Pacific time. So if you're able to join us, you'll be able to see us a little bit earlier.